Mrs. Okafor dropped the tray in her hands as the sound of breaking glass echoed through the living room. "My necklace," she screamed. She rushed toward the staircase. Her jewelry box lay open on the floor, its contents scattered everywhere. Her diamond wedding necklace, the one her late mother had given her, was gone. Mr. Okafor came running from his study. "What happened?" "My necklace is missing." The children hurried downstairs. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Michelle asked, frightened. Before anyone could respond, the maid, Ada, walked into the room carrying a basket of clean clothes. She looked around in surprise. "What happened, Ma?" "My necklace is gone." Ada slowly dropped the basket. "Oh no." The driver, Chike, entered through the back door after washing one of the cars. "Sir, the mechanic just called." He stopped when he saw everyone's faces. "What happened?" Mrs. Okafor pointed at the empty jewelry box. "My necklace has disappeared." Chike looked confused. "I'm sorry, madam." Ada hesitated. "Sir?" Mr. Okafor turned. "Yes. I don't know if I should say this." "What is it?" She swallowed hard. "I woke up very early this morning to prepare breakfast." Everyone listened. "I saw driver Chike coming out of this hallway." Chike's eyes widened. "What?" "I thought maybe madam had sent him." "You are lying." Chike shouted. Ada quickly stepped back. "I didn't accuse you." "You just did." Mr. Okafor raised his voice. "Enough." Silence followed. No one noticed the tiny smile that crossed Ada's face before she lowered her head again. 3 months earlier, the Okafor family was admired by everyone in the neighborhood. Mr. Okafor owned a successful construction company while his wife managed one of the busiest fashion stores in town. Despite their success, they remained humble, generous, and deeply devoted to their children. Every evening, they ate dinner together. Every Sunday, they attended church together. Every weekend, laughter filled their home. One evening, Mrs. Okafor sat down heavily after cleaning the kitchen. "I can't continue like this." Mr. Okafor looked up from his laptop. "What happened?" "I'm exhausted." "You've been saying that for weeks." "I leave for the boutique every morning, return home to cook, clean, help the children with assignments and prepare for the next day." He closed the laptop. "I think it's time we employed a house help." She sighed. "I've heard too many horror stories. Not everyone is bad." Before she could answer, the doorbell rang. Their longtime family friend, Rose, walked in with a young woman carrying a small traveling bag. "Good evening, Rose." Mrs. Okafor smiled. "I hope I came at the right time." "You always do." Rose turned toward the young woman. "This is Ada." Without wasting a second, Ada knelt respectfully. "Good evening, sir." "Good evening, Ma." Her voice was calm and gentle. Mrs. Okafor smiled immediately. "Stand up." Rose spoke warmly. "She's hardworking, respectful and has nowhere else to go. I thought of you immediately." Mr. Okafor asked a few questions. "Have you worked before?" "Yes, sir." "Where did you live?" "My former employer relocated." Everything about her seemed sincere. Mrs. Okafor exchanged glances with her husband. "I think we should give her a chance." Ada's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Ma. I won't disappoint you." As Rose prepared to leave, she hugged Ada. "Behave yourself." "I will." When the gate closed behind Rose, Ada slowly turned to admire the mansion. The polished floors. The expensive cars. The beautiful garden. She smiled. Not with gratitude. With determination. So this is where all the happiness lives. Within 2 weeks, Ada became everyone's favorite. She woke before sunrise. prepared breakfast, packed the children's lunch, kept every room spotless. Michelle adored her. Ada braids my hair better than anyone. David laughed. Even Mom is jealous. Mrs. Okafor smiled. I really am. Mr. Okafor nodded approvingly. We are lucky Rose brought you here. Ada lowered her eyes. I'm only doing my best. Inside, she laughed. They trust me already. One Friday evening, Mrs. Okafor handed Ada an envelope. Here. Ada looked surprised. What is this? A little bonus. You don't have to. You deserve it. Ada accepted it with both hands. Thank you. That night, everyone slept peacefully. Around 2 a.m., Ada quietly opened her bedroom door. She listened carefully. The house was silent. She walked barefoot toward Mr. Okafor's study. The door wasn't locked. She entered. Inside the drawer lay bundles of cash meant for a business payment the next morning. She removed 200,000 naira. Folded it neatly. Walked outside. Opened the driver's toolbox. Placed the envelope inside. Closed it carefully. Then returned to bed. The following morning, Mr. Okafor frowned while counting the money. This can't be right. Mrs. Okafor looked over. What happened? Money is missing. Are you sure? I counted it twice yesterday. He searched everywhere. Nothing. The atmosphere changed immediately. No one said a word. Around noon, Ada walked toward the garage carrying a bucket. Seconds later, her scream echoed through the compound. Sir! Everyone rushed outside. What happened? Ada pointed at the driver's toolbox. I found this. Mr. Okafor opened it. The missing envelope. Jack stared blankly. I've never seen that before. Mrs. Okafor covered her mouth. Chike. He shook his head repeatedly. No, madam. I swear. Ada spoke softly. Maybe someone planted it. Chike immediately pointed at her. Exactly. She gasped. Me? You did this. I've never even touched your toolbox. You are lying. Mr. Okafor's expression hardened. The money was found inside your toolbox. I don't know how. Ivy worked for you for 6 years. And I've never stolen 1 naira. Ada quietly wiped away a tear. I didn't want anybody to fight. Jack turned to Mr. Okafor desperately. Sir, please believe me. Mr. Okafor looked disappointed. I can't ignore what I've seen. Please don't sack me. I have children. Mrs. Okafor looked away. I'm sorry. The security guard escorted Jack out. As he reached the gate, he stopped. He looked straight at Ada. I don't know how you did it. But one day, the truth will find you. Ada smiled sweetly. Safe journey. The gate closed. Her smile disappeared instantly. One obstacle removed, she whispered. That evening, while serving dinner, Ada noticed Mr. Okafor's phone vibrating. The caller's name displayed on the screen. Grace, project manager. An idea formed instantly. Later that night, while everyone slept, she secretly saved the number into her own phone. The next morning, she bought a new SIM card on her way back from the market. That afternoon, Mrs. Okafor received an anonymous text. Your husband is keeping secrets from you. Watch him carefully before it's too late. She frowned. Who sent this? She deleted the message. An hour later, another arrived. Ask him where he goes every Thursday after work. This time, she didn't delete it. That evening, Mr. Okafor walked in smiling. I have good news. What happened? We just secured another contract. That's nice. He noticed her tone. You don't sound excited. I'm just tired. He kissed her forehead. I'll freshen up. As he climbed the stairs, Mrs. Okafor looked at her phone again. For the first time in years, a tiny seed of doubt entered her heart. Behind the kitchen door, Ede quietly watched everything unfold. She smiled to herself. The family had no idea that the real war had only just begun. Mrs. Okafor tried to ignore the anonymous messages. She told herself they were the work of a troublemaker. But the words lingered in her mind. The following Thursday, Mr. Okafor returned home almost 2 hours later than usual. I'm sorry, he said as he loosened his tie. Traffic was terrible. She smiled faintly. It's all right. Did you eat? I waited for you. He looked touched. I'm lucky to have you. She smiled again, but this time it didn't reach her eyes. From the kitchen, Ede watched the exchange. The doubt hadn't fully grown yet. She needed to water it. The next morning, Ede secretly used her new SIM card to call Mr. Okafor's office. Good morning. Good morning. Can I speak with Mr. Okafor? He's in a meeting. No problem. She ended the call and immediately sent another anonymous message to Mrs. Okafor. He's not in a meeting. He's having lunch with a woman. Mrs. Okafor frowned. She almost ignored it. Then she picked up her phone and called her husband's secretary. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Ma. Is my husband around? No, Ma. Where is he? He stepped out for lunch with engineer Grace to discuss the Riverside project. Mrs. Okafor froze. Engineer Grace. A woman. The message suddenly seemed believable. That evening, Mr. Okafor noticed she barely spoke during dinner. Honey, is everything alright? I'm fine. You've answered I'm fine 3 times today. She forced a smile. I'm just stressed. He reached for her hand. We'll get through it together. She slowly withdrew her hand. Ede looked down to hide the smile creeping across her face. Later that night, she quietly entered the laundry room. She took one of Mr. Okafor's white shirts and lightly sprayed it with a woman's perfume she had bought earlier that day. She returned the shirt to the wardrobe. The next morning, Mrs. Okafor ironed the shirt before handing it to her husband. As he wore it, the perfume filled the room. She stared at him. Since when do you use women's perfume? He looked confused. What? She walked closer. You're wearing perfume. I always wear perfume. Not this one. He smelled his shirt. His eyebrows knitted together. This isn't mine. Mrs. Okafor laughed bitterly. Really? I don't know how that happened. Of course you don't. She picked up her handbag and walked out. Honey. The bedroom door slammed shut. Mr. Okafor remained standing, completely confused. He changed into another shirt before leaving for work, unable to understand what had just happened. Ede watched from the upstairs hallway. Another crack. Bigger than the last. That weekend, David noticed something strange. His parents no longer laughed together. His mother barely answered his father's jokes. His father spent more time alone in his study. Even Michelle had stopped singing around the house. During breakfast, David finally asked, Mom, did something happen? Mrs. Okafor forced a smile. No. You and Dad don't talk anymore. Mr. Okafor answered instead. We are just busy. David wasn't convinced. Ada interrupted with a cheerful tone. Everything will be alright. The family nodded, but no one noticed the satisfaction in her eyes. That afternoon, she found Michelle playing with her dolls. She sat beside her. Who's winning? Michelle giggled. My doll is getting married. That's nice. She hesitated before speaking again. Do you know something? What? Sometimes fathers leave their families. Michelle stopped smiling. My daddy won't. I'm sure he won't. Michelle looked down and said. He promised we'll go to the zoo next week. I'm sure he'll remember. When Ada walked away, Michelle sat quietly, no longer interested in her dolls. 2 days later, Mr. Okafor forgot about the zoo because an important client unexpectedly arrived from Abuja. He called home and Michelle picked, he said. I'm sorry. Something urgent came up. Mrs. Okafor sighed. You promised, said Michelle. I know. You don't love me anymore. Mr. Okafor closed his eyes. My princess. She ended the call. When he returned home that evening, Michelle refused to hug him. His heart broke. He had no idea someone had carefully prepared that disappointment. Ada stood by the kitchen sink, smiling to herself. One evening, while cleaning the sitting room, she deliberately left Mrs. Okafor's phone on the dining table after secretly unlocking it. Moments later, Mr. Okafor walked in. His own phone battery had died. Honey, he called upstairs, can I use your phone to make a quick call? Yes. He picked it up and dialed his business partner. At that exact moment, Ede quietly walked upstairs. More? Yes. I think sir is deleting something from your phone. Mrs. Okafor rushed downstairs. She found her husband holding the phone. What are you doing? He looked surprised. My phone died. You could have asked. I did. She grabbed the phone. I didn't hear you. He frowned. What's happening to you? She didn't answer. He shook his head sadly and walked away. Ada turned her back immediately to hide her smile. The next morning, Mama Grace, the elderly widow who lived next door, visited the Okafors with a basket of oranges. She had watched the family for years. Something was wrong. Mrs. Okafor welcomed her warmly. It's been a while. I know. Mama Grace looked around the unusually quiet house. Where are the children? School. And your husband? Work. The old woman nodded. Your house has become too quiet. Mrs. Okafor sighed. We've all been busy. Mama Grace wasn't convinced. My daughter. Yes. Peace doesn't disappear without a reason. Mrs. Okafor looked away. We're just passing through a difficult season. The old woman held her hand. Sometimes the enemy outside cannot harm a family. She paused. But the enemy inside can. Mrs. Okafor frowned. I don't understand. Just then, Ada walked in carrying juice. She smiled respectfully. Mama, your drink. Thank you. The old woman accepted the glass but never took her eyes off Ada. Ada smiled politely. Is there anything else you need? No. As Ada left the room, Mama Grace leaned closer. Watch that girl. Mrs. Okafor immediately frowned. Ada. Yes. Why? I don't know. Then why accuse her? I'm not accusing her. What are you saying? My spirit is uneasy whenever she's around. Mrs. Okafor smiled awkwardly. Mama, Ada has been wonderful. I hope I'm wrong. You are. Mama Grace nodded slowly. I pray so. As Ada escorted the old woman to the gate, Mama Grace suddenly stopped. My daughter. Yes, Mama. You smile with your lips. Ada smiled wider. Thank you. But not with your heart. For the first time since arriving at the Okafor home, Ada's expression hardened. The old woman saw it. Just for a second. Then the innocent smile returned. Have a safe journey. Mama Grace walked away quietly. She looked back once. Something told her that young woman had entered that house with a purpose. That night, Ada sat alone in her room staring at an old photograph. It showed a poorly built mud house, a tired woman, and a little girl standing beside her. She gently touched the woman's face. "I haven't forgotten, Mama." A tear rolled down her cheek. "I promised I'd make them suffer." She folded the picture and hid it beneath her pillow. Then she picked up another phone. One no one in the Okafor family knew she owned. She dialed the number. The call connected immediately. "Talk to me," a man's voice said. "They're already falling apart." "Good. But the husband still trusts the wife. Then make him doubt her too." Ada smiled. "I already know how." She ended the call and looked out through the window at the peaceful compound. By the time she finished with the Okafors, she promised herself there would be nothing left of the family they once were. Unknown to Ada, someone standing outside in the darkness had seen the light from her room and heard part of the conversation through the open window. It was David. He couldn't hear every word, but he heard enough to know one thing. Ada was hiding something. David remained hidden behind the flower pots until Ada switched off her light. His heart pounded. He replayed the words he had heard. "They're already falling apart. Make him doubt her too." He couldn't understand everything, but he knew those weren't the words of someone who cared about the family. The next morning, he decided to tell his father. "Dad, can I talk to you?" Mr. Okafor looked up from his newspaper. "Of course. I think Ada is hiding something." Mrs. Okafor immediately frowned. "David. I'm serious, Mom. What happened?" "I heard her talking to someone last night." "What did she say?" Mr. Okafor asked. "I couldn't hear everything." Mrs. Okafor sighed. "You probably misunderstood." "I didn't." Ada walked into the dining room carrying tea. Everyone fell silent. She looked around. "Did I interrupt something?" Mr. Okafor smiled. "No." David kept staring at her. For the first time, Ada felt uncomfortable. She smiled at him. "Is everything alright?" He nodded without saying a word. But in his heart, he had decided to keep watching her. That afternoon, Ada knew she had to move quickly. If David became suspicious, her entire plan could collapse. She quietly entered Mrs. Okafor's bedroom while everyone else was downstairs. She opened the wardrobe and removed Mrs. Okafor's passport, some important land documents, and a small envelope containing dollars meant for an upcoming business trip. She placed everything inside a black travel bag. Then she sneaked into the guest room and hid the bag under the bed. An hour later, Mrs. Okafor rushed upstairs. "My passport." Mr. Okafor looked up from his laptop. "What about it?" "I can't find it." "You kept it in the wardrobe." "I know." "The dollars were gone too." Mr. Okafor joined the search. "Nothing." Ada slowly entered the room. "What happened?" "My passport and some money are missing." Ada looked genuinely shocked. "Oh no." Mr. Okafor turned to everyone in the house. "Nobody leaves this compound until we find them." The search began. Every room was checked. When they entered the guest room, Ada pretended to notice something beneath the bed. "Sir." "What is it?" She slowly pulled out the black travel bag. Mrs. Okafor gasped. "That's my bag." Inside were the passport, the dollars, and the land documents. Mr. Okafor looked around. "Who kept this here?" No one answered. Ada hesitated before speaking. I don't want to accuse anyone." "Speak." "I saw David coming out of this room this morning." David jumped to his feet. "What? You were here." "I came to charge my phone." "But you had that bag." "No, I didn't." "You did." "I swear I didn't." Mrs. Okafor looked at her son. David. He burst into tears. Mom, I would never steal from you. Mr. Okafor stepped between them. Enough. He looked directly at Ada. You seem to discover everything. Ada forced a nervous smile. I only wanted to help. Mr. Okafor nodded slowly. Of course. He didn't say another word. But something had changed. That evening, after everyone had gone to bed, he quietly called an old friend. James. Long time. I need your help. What happened? I think someone inside my house is destroying my family. What do you need? I want hidden cameras. Visible or hidden? Hidden. I don't want anyone to know. I'll come tomorrow. The following afternoon, while Ada accompanied Mrs. Okafor to the market, James and his technicians installed tiny cameras inside the living room, hallway, study, kitchen, garage and outside every bedroom. By sunset, everything was ready. Mr. Okafor tested the cameras from his laptop. Every corner appeared clearly. Let's see who has been playing games. 2 days passed. Nothing happened. Ada behaved perfectly. She cooked. She cleaned. She laughed with Michelle. She even prayed with the family during evening devotion. Mr. Okafor almost wondered if he had been wrong. Then Friday night arrived. At exactly 1:17 a.m., his phone vibrated. Motion detected. He quietly opened the live camera feed. A shadow stepped into the hallway. Ada. She looked left. Then right. She quietly entered his study. Mr. Okafor's eyes narrowed. She opened the drawer. Removed an envelope. Walked into the kitchen. Lifted the flour container. Hid the envelope beneath it. Then calmly returned to her room. Mr. Okafor didn't wake anyone. Instead, he continued watching. 30 minutes later, Ada came out again. This time she entered David's room. She carefully slipped Mrs. Okafor's missing bracelet into the pocket of his school bag. Mr. Okafor felt his blood boil. So it has always been you. The next morning, everything unfolded exactly as Ada had planned. Mrs. Okafor searched for her bracelet. Ada pretended to help. Minutes later she found it inside David's bag. David broke down. I'm innocent. Mrs. Okafor looked confused. Mr. Okafor remained unusually calm. Nobody should say another word. Ada blinked. This wasn't the reaction she expected. That evening, Mr. Okafor called everyone into the living room. Even Chaik, the former driver, had been invited. When Chaik entered, Ada's heart skipped. Why was he here? A few minutes later, 2 police officers walked into the compound. Her breathing became heavier. Mr. Okafor placed his laptop on the center table. Ada. She smiled nervously. Yes, sir. I have a few videos I'd like everyone to watch. Her smile faded. He pressed play. The first recording showed Ada planting the bracelet inside David's school bag. The room fell silent. The second showed her hiding the envelope beneath the flour container. The third showed her stealing the dollars from the wardrobe. The fourth showed her placing money inside Chaik's toolbox weeks earlier. Mrs. Okafor covered her mouth and burst into tears. David couldn't believe his eyes. Michelle clung tightly to her mother. Chaik slowly shook his head. I told all of you. Mr. Okafor looked directly at Ada. Do you still want to deny it? Ada's legs became weak. She looked around desperately. There was nowhere to run. Suddenly, she laughed. Not the gentle laugh everyone knew. A cold, bitter laugh. So, you finally know. Mrs. Okafor cried. Why? What did we ever do to you? Ada's face hardened. You. She pointed at Mr. Okafor. Maybe nothing. But your father destroyed my family. Everyone became quiet. When I was 10 years old, my mother worked on one of his construction sites. He promised to pay all the workers. He never did. We were thrown out of our home because we couldn't pay rent. My mother became sick. She begged for help. No one came. She died in my arms. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I buried her with borrowed money. She looked at Mr. Okafor with hatred. And while we suffered, you people lived like kings. Mr. Okafor spoke softly. If my father truly wronged your family, I'm deeply sorry. But why punish innocent people? You framed my son. You destroyed Chike's livelihood. You almost tore my marriage apart. You even tampered with my car. Michelle started crying louder. Mrs. Okafor hugged her tightly. Ada lowered her head. For the first time since entering the house, she realized what she had become. Not a daughter seeking justice, but someone consumed by revenge. The police officer stepped forward. Ada, you're under arrest. She didn't struggle. As the handcuffs clicked around her wrist, she looked once more at the family she had tried so hard to destroy. She had succeeded in bringing them pain, but she had failed to break them. Before she was led away, she whispered, "I'm tired." After she left, the room remained silent. Mr. Okafor walked over to Chike. "I'm sorry." Chike smiled sadly. "I forgive you, sir." He turned to David. "I'm sorry too." David hugged his father. Mrs. Okafor joined them, with Michelle wrapping her little arms around everyone. The family stood together, stronger than before. Mr. Okafor later reached out to investigate Ada's claims about his late father's dealings. He discovered there had indeed been unresolved disputes involving some workers years earlier. Though he could no longer change the past, he set up a compensation fund for the affected families, believing that acknowledging old wrongs was better than ignoring them. As for Ada, she accepted responsibility for her crimes. She eventually wrote a letter of apology to the Okafors, admitting that revenge had cost her the chance to build a new life. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next African story. Also, tell us in the comments, if you were Mr. Okafor, would you have forgiven Ada, or would you have walked away forever? Sometimes the greatest danger isn't the stranger outside your gate. It's the person who earns your trust while secretly waiting for the right moment to destroy everything you love. But no matter how carefully evil hides, the truth eventually finds its voice.